Hey everyone, welcome into SkyTower weather now on this Monday afternoon. It is April 14th. I hope you all had a lovely weekend, and wow, was it almost a picture perfect weekend out there across the Tampa Bay area. Not only did we have that cool down that moved through, we had a cold front moving across the area on Saturday. We saw high temperatures in the mid 70s for many spots Saturday afternoon, and into Sunday we warmed up a little bit more, but still a lot of spots in the upper 70s to low 80s. Likely the last cooler weekend and kind of significant cool down that we'll have here as we look ahead to our warmer months. And wow, with the beautiful sunshine out there combined with the cooler temperatures, did it make for a glorious weekend. I wanted to start you out with some Val's views, taking you on one of my adventures that I went on this weekend. This was in Rainbow Springs. I mean, just absolutely beautiful there. We had clear water, pretty much as crystal clear as you can see in this picture. Saw a lot of fun wildlife out there and with the blue sky, and it was overall just a beautiful day to get into whatever adventures that you were picking up on for Saturday, Sunday. I hope you had a nice weekend, and actually we are tracking really nice weather in the week ahead. No rain is expected. Temperatures are warmer today, and we're going to continue on this warming trend the next few days. Another push of some drier air moves in on Wednesday as our next cold front is going to be heading our way, more typical for this kind of time of the year, where overall we do get some cold fronts moving through, but they are much lower impact compared to some of our fronts that moved through earlier in the season, where we really feel that cooler air, kind of similar to the one that we had just a couple of days ago. This one, much lower impact, not as windy, and not going to be bringing us much of a cool down. On the backside, quite the opposite, actually, as we will be pushing for 90s looking ahead to the end of this week and for Easter weekend. So let's go ahead and take you outside. Downtown Tampa, 81 degrees, winds out of the south-southwest, 11 miles per hour, but overall beautiful conditions out there. Bradenton Beach looking good as well. We've got these bluebird skies yet again all across the area. 84 the temperature there. Winds out of the west-southwest, right around 13 miles per hour. So a bit of a breeze there along the coast, but winds coming in around this ridge of high pressure, which is continuing to kind of slide east off the Atlantic coast there, but still with the influence of high pressure, we are dealing with tons of sunshine, nice and warm conditions out there, and actually feeling a lot more seasonal after this below average weekend that we had here. And so we look at the Sunshine State up and down, we are feeling that warm up, in most cases about 3 to 6 degrees warmer than this point in the day yesterday. So we're seeing more 80s on the board. In fact, really most Florida spots yesterday only warmed into the upper 70s, and so that was a nice change after what was a very hot start to the month of April. Temperatures right now, we do have some 70s in the mix as we look closer here around the area. 79 Crystal River, 81 for the temperature in Clearwater. It's 77 Crystal River, Venice, Sarasota, 79 right now, about 84 in Wauchula. Notice we're seeing more in the way of those mid 80s on the board out there this afternoon, but luckily still feeling that really comfortable humidity. Dew points right now in the 50s and 60s, so we felt that drop in humidity levels over the weekend with that initial cold front moving through Saturday into Sunday. Then that dry air was really sticking with us, and so for today we're still in this kind of pleasant category. Dew points here sitting close to 60 degrees puts us very comfortable. We'll feel a little bit more of that moderate humidity out there tomorrow for our Tuesday ahead of our next shot for drier air moving in. So all of the brown and yellow colors that you see here on our water vapor map, that's showing that drier air that we have in place. That really sits over the Sunshine State. We look ahead to Tuesday night though, and notice that cold front boundary lurking just to the north. That swings across the state from Tuesday into Wednesday, bringing us even drier air. So that gives us a real kind of reinforcement reinforcing push of this comfortable feeling air that we've had in place the next couple of days. And so as we look at the dew point trend here today and into Tuesday, we will see those humidity levels climbing just a little bit. Remember, I mentioned to you tomorrow more in the way of mid 60s. You see that here on our kind of dew point trend through the afternoon and into our early Wednesday morning hours, and then the dew points just absolutely fall behind the cold front swinging through. We get another round of dew points that are dipping into the 30s and 40s for for the middle of this week. But we look at where that cold front is now. It's working its way across parts of the Ohio Valley, starting to swing into the Tennessee Valley and kind of extending out to Texas. And so it takes a little bit of time for this to move through parts of the southeast, but eventually we'll see a couple more clouds and very low end rain chances. I mentioned to you, this is going to be a very low impact cold front, and I'll show you that here on our map in just a second, but it's not really going to be bringing us much significant weather ahead of that. On the flip side, we look at visible satellite, hardly any clouds out there, really from the base of the peninsula up into the Florida Panhandle and further into parts of Georgia and Alabama. Really beautiful clear skies in place out there today. And so with that, winds are a little bit on the breezy side here or there. We've got about a 20-mile-per-hour gust right now in St. Pete. 22-mile-per-hour gusts in Brooksville. Otherwise, our sustained winds are up in this 10 to 12-mile-per-hour range. We mostly have these coming in out of the south and southwest. And so a little bit of a breeze will be felt out there for that Rays game. We have first pitch 7:05 tonight. I mean, it's really going to be a great day for the game. We had beautiful weather all weekend long for those two Rays games on Saturday and Sunday. First pitch for this evening, temperature right around 80 degrees. Still plenty of sunshine, but then with that setting sun, temperatures start to fall, and as you're heading home around 9-10 o'clock, last pitch, we're looking at temperatures falling to the low 70s, but still feeling comfortable, clear skies in place. And so with the winds, let's go ahead and look at how those might be impacted, looking ahead to that front approaching Tuesday and Wednesday. We fast forward to Tuesday afternoon, still winds in this 10 to 15-mile-per-hour range, not really a big deal there. And then we look ahead into the late Tuesday and kind of the overnight hours, starting to see some of the potential for 15 to 20-mile-per-hour winds, maybe some of those gusts up into the mid-20s, and then through Wednesday morning is when we kind of watch for the potential for some of those wind gusts to continue up into this 20, maybe 30-mile-per-hour range. And so we'll really feel those strongest during the Wednesday morning hours. I rolled this back to 6 a.m. You'll see some of those 20, 30-mile-per-hour gusts, the potential for that as that main boundary moves overhead. But really then by the mid-morning hours on Wednesday and by Wednesday afternoon, we are no longer going to be dealing with those stronger gusts. That boundary pushes past us and we'll get those cooler north winds that will start to pick up. So let's go ahead and look at the Fox model here. Here's how it plays out. Clear skies, they continue all through the rest of our Monday evening, right on into Tuesday morning. Still really comfortable conditions with some breezes here or there, but otherwise you notice some increase in clouds as that front starts to head our way. Tuesday into Wednesday, we'll notice a bit more cloud cover. It really looks like early Wednesday morning, some of those will be around as that main boundary starts to push through. Very spotty shower chances coming with it. And then we get those cooler winds on Wednesday, and we'll be feeling overall a quick clearing trend from Wednesday into Thursday once that moves through. And so this gives you just kind of a closer look at the area here with that time frame coming Tuesday. You see some of that switch in our winds, where we're kind of primarily seeing these westerly winds out ahead of the front. You can kind of see those pointed here, where you can see all of this wind flow that's coming in pretty much due west. So we'll have more of that westerly wind flow through the day tomorrow, and then you see some of those clouds start to move through early Wednesday morning. A couple of showers in the mix as well, but you see few and far between. We actually have some of that drier air that I showed you in the mid levels of the atmosphere. So even though we get a little bit more surface moisture, that's going to be battling some of those drier airs aloft, and that drier air aloft rather. And so that's just going to keep rain chances pretty sparse with that system right on into our Wednesday afternoon. Then we see these winds coming in out of the north. This clearing trend will start to move in pretty quickly behind very few overall clouds and showers moving through with that initial boundary. And so as we look at our temperature trend, temperatures fall just a touch Tuesday, Wednesday, but then the warmth, it's going to build back in very quickly. And so I mentioned to you, we're getting close to the 90s at the end of this week and into this upcoming weekend. We are certainly going to be seeing several 90s building in here around the area. So we take a look at the big picture. In the upper levels, we've got a couple of areas of low pressure moving through the Great Lakes and the Northeast, keeping things a little bit active for some of those spots. We're in this more mild air mass before this ridge of high pressure starts to really build in from the south. And for really the southern tier of the country, and especially across parts of the heartland, we're really going to be feeling that warm up looking ahead starting Thursday and right on through our Easter weekend. And so I mentioned to you, this is a relatively dry cold front. This plays out our rainfall accumulation, and notice it's really not going to be able to produce hardly any rain all across the state of Florida as it moves through. With that, we are still watching the drought monitor. It is still the dry season, but we do all across central and south Florida pretty much are dealing with anywhere from abnormally dry to severe drought conditions. We kind of have this donut from Fort Pierce to Melbourne, this little section of the state, and right across parts of central Florida where we are looking drought free. We have had some rain and some more impactful rain over there by the Space Coast, but for us here, we still are running rather dry for this time of year. Rain deficits all across the board, but the largest rain deficits up near Venice, Brooksville, about 4 to 4.5 inches behind schedule for this point in the year. Sarasota, St. Pete, we've picked up about 4.5 to 5.5 inches for you, but still seeing those rain deficits running a little over 2 and 3 inches. As for the Tampa International Airport, this is a look at the month of April, month to date. 0.63 inches of rain, and so our normal rainfall for the month about an inch, and so we are still about half an inch behind schedule and not a whole lot of rain to talk about here in our extended forecast. But instead, we've got this beautiful view, 81 degrees, and here's a look at the rest of the evening. We stay in the 80s. Past sunset, though, we quickly start to fall through the mid-50s. Eventually, by midnight, we dip into the 60s with lows tonight in the 50s and 60s all across the area. Not as cool as where we started out this morning, more kind of in the mix of 40s and 50s for a lot of the area. So we'll bottom out around 65 tonight in Tampa, 55 for the low in Brooksville, a mix of mid and upper 50s for the inland areas up to the Nature Coast, and then mid 60s along the coast from Clearwater through St. Pete down into Sarasota and Venice areas. For temperatures tomorrow, pretty similar, but I mentioned to you slightly cooler, so we will see some upper 70s along the coast, about 81 for the high tomorrow in Tampa with mid 80s as we head for areas further east of 75. I'm going to give you a look at your 7-day forecast coming up a little bit later in the show, but for now, here's a look at conditions around the area, and I'll be back after this short break. Hey everyone, welcome back into SkyTower Weather Now, taking you off to the other coast. This is a live look at Catalina Island, just off the coast of California, where about 2 hours ago, parts of Southern California rattled with an earthquake. Let me go ahead and play this forward. We had this earthquake right outside of the San Diego area, magnitude 5.2 that hit at 10:08 local time. So that was a little after 1 o'clock for us. We saw that quake struck at a depth of about 8 miles. And we even saw reports, of course, this was a little over 60 miles east of San Diego, right outside the Julian, California area. But there were reports of people feeling this earthquake as far as Los Angeles, which is about 100 miles away. And so we did see a series of aftershocks around this region kind of within the hour afterwards, up to about a 2.5 magnitude. And so we'll continue to watch these areas for any tsunami warnings or anything additional like that, but we have yet to see anything like that since that earthquake struck, again, a little after 10 o'clock local time there in California, about 60 miles east of San Diego. But as we check on radar here, things really mostly quiet in the area. We actually have the influence of high pressure out across the west, so things generally pretty quiet. We see some rain picking up for Bismarck, North Dakota, kind of down into parts of Rapid City, and we're starting to see some of that snow dive its way out of Canada, and we are going to see some more active weather across the Great Lakes, the Northeast, into parts of the Ohio Valley through the day today, which actually that is where our focus is going to be for some severe storms to be possible. So we'll really focus these scattered severe storms targeting the Ohio Valley, kind of east to parts of the mid-Atlantic, and especially after they've had a lot of sunshine today. We've got that daytime heating in full effect, quite a bit of low-level moisture that's flowing in, and so it's going to help destabilize the atmosphere in this part of the country. And so overall, kind of a level 2 out of 5 for the severe weather risk, and 2 and 3 level out of 5, I should say. And so overall, it is going to be able to produce the potential for some large hail, 1 to 2 inches in diameter under some of these supercells. We could be talking about a couple of tornadoes spinning up. That tornado threat, though, overall a little bit lower compared to the large hail and the severe wind gusts that we'll see for parts of those areas highlighted from the lower Ohio Valley into the mid-Atlantic states. And with that, quite a bit of moisture to work with. Remember how I mentioned to you that low-level moisture flowing in? We've got this high-pressure system that's continuing to allow for some of that more moist air from the Gulf of Mexico to kind of funnel into these areas where you see the dew points there sitting in the upper 50s to low 60s right now. And as I flip this over, you'll see where that cold front boundary is moving through. We've got the clashing of that drier, more moist air along with some of that colder air on the backside. Plenty of warmth, though, in between where we kind of have that cold front and that warm front, which is where we call the warm front sector. That's going to be right in the area that we are going to be tracking for the potential for some strong and severe storms, especially over the next couple of hours, but into this evening and tonight as this boundary continues to move east. It's kind of associated with this mid-latitude cyclone near the Great Lakes, but we will have this front that's moving across the Ohio Valley and the Appalachians tonight. And so you see that boundary dragging all the way south across the Gulf. Tomorrow into Wednesday, that's the same front that will move through for us, but then we've got a secondary system that continues to bring some snow potential up into the northeast. Then things quiet, though, as we look a little bit farther west, with high pressure really continuing to dominate there for other parts of the country where more warmth and overall more dry weather is going to be the big trend. And so it's kind of this area that we'll focus on for things to remain a little bit more active just to the north of where our jet streams are positioned. And so there will be some additional snow for some of our far northern spots, Great Lakes, kind of along the northeast into parts of Maine, upstate New York. We will see some additional snow the next few days, but especially into tomorrow, you see that line of thunderstorms as it moves across some of those states that we just highlighted where that severe weather is going to be possible. Near Washington, D.C., we'll see some of those storms roll through. We have D.C. and Kentucky in the risk as well, but higher chances for some of those severe storms this evening around parts of West Virginia and Virginia, where we may be seeing kind of some of those supercells and the potential for a couple of stronger storms. Then through tomorrow afternoon, still some of those continue to be kind of scattered in nature all across the northeast. Still some of those snow showers continuing as well. And so that overall is going to be able to produce some higher snowfall totals in some spots of this country here, as we play this out through Tuesday and on into Wednesday. You see some of those bullseyes in pink, upstate New York, near Burlington, Vermont, up into upstate Maine as well. That's where we're looking at the potential for 8 inches, maybe some slightly higher snowfall totals there, right around Orchard Park. That's another spot where maybe we see some higher snowfall totals there. Upstate Michigan and upstate Wisconsin, we'll watch for some of those to be possible as well the next few days. Otherwise, though, more of the rain and the scattered storms will be a bigger impact for other areas kind of on the south side of that, in that warm front sector, that are going to see that frontal boundary move through and allow for some of those strong storms to spark up. And some of that rain is going to come down over some of these same areas from the lower Ohio Valley through the Tennessee Valley and kind of down to parts of the Gulf Coast, where we are still dealing with major river flooding from last week. All of these areas highlighted in red here, right over Paducah, Kentucky, down into Memphis, Tennessee, Little Rock, Arkansas. Those are all of the spots where we are still dealing with imminent and occurring flooding, and still some of those smaller tributaries and riverbeds will have the potential, as all of these rivers continue to flow downstream from the Kentucky down into the Ohio riverbeds. We'll eventually see those flow into the Mississippi Valley rivers, and those continue further south, eventually spilling out into the Gulf. But even as we look further south, parts of Louisiana, Mississippi, right now in the forecast zone to start to see some of these areas likely flood out. And that's where we have this orange color here. These are some of the spots where there is likely the potential the next 3 to 5 days or so for some of that river flooding to occur. So all that water moving downstream, and that means it will continue to be a problem this week, and we'll be continuing to watch it for you. Otherwise, the big story is going to be more of a warm up for the west, and we still have some of these more active systems rolling through parts of the East Coast. And so as we look at where the cold is going to be set up, it's kind of a flip from last week. And so overall, we're going to be tracking this big ridge allowing for a warm up across the west coast. Well, we have a couple of cooler systems moving in from the Great Lakes off to the northeast, and then finally some of that cooler air moving in for parts of Montana back across parts of the Pacific Northwest as well at the end of the next couple of days. And so overall, though, a lot of spots feeling a departure from normal, where temperatures are well above average for this time of year. Dallas by Wednesday, Thursday running 10 above. Tucson, Arizona today and tomorrow 12 degrees above average. Look at Denver. You'll be feeling that warmth with temperatures 20 degrees above average looking through Thursday of this week. So here's a look at highs across the country, where we will see some chilly temperatures up north, 48 tomorrow in Cleveland, 55 Chicago, mid-60s for DC, Washington and New York City, I should say. Denver in the mid-70s, El Paso and Houston in the mid-80s. Phoenix feeling the heat for you, 94 for the high tomorrow with 60s and 70s there along the west coast. We'll talk more details about our local forecast. I'll give you a look at your 7-day coming up right after this break. Hey everyone, welcome back into the show. Taking you off to a live look here. St. Pete Beach looking pretty good. Camera a little dirty there, but hey, you can really see the picture where we just have nothing but abundant sunshine, that beautiful blue sky beckoning a lot of people to the beach. Definitely a beach day worth bragging about, where you can see tons of people packing in the sand there. Really a lovely day for it, and we're going to have a couple of other nice days as well. As for our water temperature, just off the coast in Clearwater Beach, we've got a water temperature right around 74 degrees, and off other local beaches, we're sitting right around the low and mid 70s. We're even seeing some of those warmer temperatures up to 78 as we look to the other coast around Virginia Key, seeing those temperatures just shy of 80 degrees. So for our local waters, we're actually right on par with April averages. Clearwater Beach typically in April sees the average water temperature of 73, so we're right in line with that, just a degree warmer in some spots. And overall, for most of the Caribbean and some of the Atlantic Basin, water temperatures not as warm as they were at this point last year. So that is some good news as we are counting down to the start of this hurricane season, a little less than 2 months away. Come May, we see our water temperature in May jump up to 78 degrees. And wow, we have sure been feeling some spring weather here through the month of April. We kicked things off the first full week of April just above average every single day. We saw our first 90-degree day of the year, 94 at the Tampa International Airport on April 2nd. So then about a 20-degree temperature drop from that Wednesday to the following Tuesday, where 74 was our high on April 8th. And since then, we have been feeling a lot of days in the 70s and below average temperatures each and every day. Hopefully you enjoyed this brief cool down while we had it, because as we look at the next 10 days, we are on the upward trend. A warming trend really big builds in across parts of the east, and so temperatures today sitting in the low 80s just continue to warm through the 80s each and every afternoon. And then by the end of this week, we are looking at some temperatures getting close to 90s here for areas further west along parts of the area, and we'll see more in the way of 90s for our inland spots that have already been hitting into the 90s. And so we play out your 7-day forecast where we're talking temperatures just shy of 90 degrees for your Easter Sunday, but a lovely and dry week ahead. Thanks everyone for being here. I'll see you back here for SkyTower Weather Now, same place, same time tomorrow.